third dimension.
3D Newsbite.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Adolph. I have with me Jake.
Howdy, folks.
And today in this 3D Newsbite podcast, we'll talk about a new Spongebob movie. Spongebob, Spongebob, blah, 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 blah. Jake, continue singing, please.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob, SpongeBob. So we got the third SpongeBob movie here, and SpongeBob. The title is the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, and so this is definitely confirmed to be in 3D, coming out on May of 2020, May 22nd to be specific. And this one is the first CG animated SpongeBob movie with a semi 3D, semi 2D, respectful 2.5D appearance. You know, it's 3D character models, but they still look like the 2D versions of them. You agree with that?
Yeah. In fact, I like these better than I've seen other CG 3D renderings of SpongeBob. Things that I've seen used on merch and theme park stuff. This looks a lot better than that.
And it looks less like a 3D version, just like a 3D render version. It's hard to describe because it still has the fundamentals of what, the 2D SpongeBob is, but it does feel fleshed out. It's hard to describe, and it doesn't feel like the times they've gone to live action or whatever other times they've tried this. It looks very distinct and new. Now, the story, on the other hand, is not very distinct and new. The story here, Jake, is that Gary, SpongeBob's pet snail, is gone missing. And this has been actually done before in the show, the animated series. At least once, if not twice.
Yeah.
So, specifically, have you seen this snail, which is a season 4 episode? I think there's a season 1 episode. This theme has been hit before. This is not a new original idea.
Yeah, Gary the snail seems to go missing quite a bit.
Which is kind of lazy. It really is. I'm sorry. It's lazy.
Yeah, well, I like this trailer a whole lot. Of course, seeing Keanu Reeves as a tumbleweed was why. And heck, he was live action. So it looks like this is going to be a lot of live action.
So it's actually interesting. This movie was originally going to be called the SpongeBob movie, It's a Wonderful Sponge, but now it's retitled to be, the Sponge on the Run. And it does look good. It does look funny. The part with Keanu Reeves is probably the funniest part, and that's become a meme. And he's a sage bush, and has sageful advice, pun intended, of course. And then they go to Atlantic City, and just the hijinks occur that usually SpongeBob. So I reviewed the last SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, and I give that a 4 out of 10. I've watched some of the first one, but the first one was just so crazy. What do you think of these movies before?
The second one was kind of like meh. First one was insane. And I think a lot of that is SpongeBob was a different beast when Steven was still working on it before he left the show, and of course now he's passed on. But it had a different manic energy. It also, since he was an oceanologist, it also had more facts blended in with the humor about how ocean creatures behave, which kind of grounded it in a strange way and made it more endearing. But now it's kind of become more slapsticky. Newer stuff isn't as good as the older stuff, but you can say that about almost anything.
Yeah, Steven Hellenberg, it was the original creator of this. And I do think the earlier SpongeBob was just so surreal and strange and just, really out there. but still fun. And then it became more slapstick, more kiddie. You know, I think like the original SpongeBob was more like Ren and Stimpy, and you know, SpongeBob now is just more, just like, you know, Tom and Jerry kind of kid stuff. You know,
Hmm.
where it's,
Rugrat.
yeah, it's basic, not as inspired, not as weird. You know, there's a lot of weird jokes in SpongeBob that are not for kids, but just totally fly over kids' heads. And you know, there's a lot of stuff there that is kind of fun. You know, I'm a defender of SpongeBob. You know, even though it's for kids, I still kind of like it. You know, it's still wacky enough. You know, in theory, I haven't really sat down and watched like multiple episodes, but in a row recently. But you know, I can appreciate SpongeBob. You know, the wackiness, like episodes where they have like a fire undersea. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Or like the episodes where like them, you know, I think the famous one where they make like they make a drawing of SpongeBob and that comes to life or something. And you know, all the really strange references to like Baywatch and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, how can you hate a show that has a squirrel from Texas who lives in a diving suit in a dome under the ocean?
You know, the greatness of Keanu Reeves, I think, is probably the one thing. You know, everyone loves Keanu Reeves. It's a good time for him, good year or so, couple years for him. So I don't know if they did that on purpose or what, but maybe they just added that in. I don't know how they do it, but it's really good timing on their front to have him.
I think the most remarkable thing about Keanu Reeves is not so much his talent, but the fact that his career can survive a movie like Replicants.
Yeah, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. See, bad Keanu Reeves movie, we collectively just forget about it and move on. I mean, him and Will Smith seem to be the only two actors that we kind of forget and forgive and eagerly await the next thing.
So, yeah, it's been a while. It's been several years since the last SpongeBob movie. So it makes sense to keep them, you know, a couple years between them. Um, it looks good. It looks like it could be fun, and it definitely, this animation style is nice, and it could look really nice in 3D. What do you think of the 3D potential?
Oh, I think it's have amazing 3D potential, and if the past is an indicator of the future, the last two had great 3D, so this one should be no different.
Yeah, I did not watch the original in 3D, but the second one I did, and it really looked fantastic. So let's see how this one looks. But yeah, SpongeBob is back, coming to theaters May 2020, and it's going to be a full, you know, cartoon, but it's kind of a new style, graphical style. So, but it's still, it's a weird thing because it looks like a movie. I guess that's a better way of saying it, because they stepped it up. It's not just a cartoon, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Yeah, and SpongeBob is more than just family films. I mean, because one of the things I remember about seeing SpongeBob in the theaters is not only was I not the only adult by themselves at screenings, but there were more adults and there than kids.
I just hope that there's more to this story than being a rehash of an episode.
Hmm.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, they got Keanu Reeves. That's already more than. But I think we want more than Keanu just rolling around in a tumbleweed, going "I am Sage" and correcting Patrick about the origin of his name.
So I guess that's going to be it for this 3D News Bite podcast. We'll come back when we have another trailer. We probably get another one maybe in the spring, maybe Birdie next year. You know, I don't think they're in a big rush to have these out. And this was kind of come out of the sudden. Like, I didn't know about this beforehand. So you never know. Might be some more randomness here and there. Okay, before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, David and Mr. Bengal5, for your financial support on patreon.com. So that's going to be it for this podcast. You can find us, 3dor2d.com, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and so much more. Just look for 3D or 2D. You can also send us your listener mail. Our email address is email3d or2d@gmail.com. Links are in the description. Thank you for listening and or watching. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.